So we got to talk about old Chuck, Chuck Schumer and the Democrat Party because they are about to absolutely step in it, but they're in between a rock and a hard place at this point. And what I mean is the SAVE Act, okay? Right, making sure that only American citizens are allowed to vote. Well, of course, Chuck Schumer has come out and opposed it. He said it's DOA, dead on arrival in the Senate. And I want to talk about it a little bit because he is absolutely on the wrong side of this, including with his own party. So let's jump into it. I want to play Chuck Schumer's comments first, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. So check it out.
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
You ever notice how the Democrats, whenever they want to oppose something, they go with like the most extreme verbiage, right? They go with the most extreme wording. No, this is Jim Crow 2.0. Yeah, making sure people have to have an ID to vote is Jim Crow 2.0. Really? Okay. I want to show you guys something. It's quite interesting. What do you notice on this map here? What do you notice? Is there a recurring theme here? I think so. Every single state where no ID required, -1, is blue. No ID, no ID, no ID, no ID. Well, this is non-photo. No ID, no ID, no ID. There's a couple non-photos and no ID, no ID. All of these, I guess -2. Okay, this is ID required, ID required. But every single state where there's no ID, they're all blue. Every single one of them. Every single one. Interesting how that works, isn't it? Interesting how that works. I'm just saying. But if you take a look at some of the polling that has come out, in regards to this whole ID issue, Democrats are actually underwater on this one. Check it out from Harry Enten in CNN.
The American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here. Favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
What about by party? What's the party breakdown?
Yeah, normally you might expect, hey, there'd be a big divide by party with Republicans really for it and Democrats really against it. But not really here. I mean, just take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. You got 95% of Republicans, pretty much all of them, but even 71% of Democrats favor photo ID to vote. So again, Nicki Minaj posting that on X, and what you see is that the American people, actually, it's not really all that controversial. The American people are with Nicki Minaj, whether they are Republican or even if they are Democrats. We're talking about 7 in 10 Democrats agreeing with Nicki Minaj that you, in fact, should show a voter photo ID to vote.
What's the racial breakdown?
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non-controversy, in other words.
That's very good. The alliteration of Mr. John Berman, that Harvard education, paying off once again.
Harold.
A non-controversy. So when Chuck Schumer comes out and says, this is Jim Crow 2.0, well, most of America disagrees. Because you have to have an ID for a lot of different things. You pull up to the liquor store, you think they're going to hand you anything? Nope. And I would say that buying a bottle of liquor is not as important as voting for the leaders of this country. I mean, I would think that one is a lot more important than buying your bottle of liquor. So I think an ID is just real simple, right? And all this talk of, well, people of color, they have such a hard time, and it's like, wait a minute. So you think we still? It reminds me of I can't think of his name right now. Ami Horowitz. I showed you guys the video clip. This is probably a couple years ago now. Ami Horowitz went out and was doing some street interviews, and the topic of discussion was voter ID. And of course, he went up to a bunch of white liberals, and they said the tagline, people of color are disproportionately affected, blah, blah, blah. The BS that they spew, the racist BS that they spew. And then he went up to black people. He was like, yo, you got an ID? You know what they all said? Of course. You know anybody without it? You know any person of color without an ID? No, we all have IDs. If you didn't have one, do you know where to get one? Yeah, of course. And one of the guys gave directions and everything to go and get one. So it's like, bro, what you think that low of us to where you think black people aren't able to figure out how to get an ID or can't afford to get an ID or just simply are walking around without IDs? It's crazy. But white liberals will tell you that they're not racist. But in reality, they're the most racist individuals amongst us. The fact that they think that all black people are idiots or something. It's the same thing with Kathy Hochul, the Democrat governor of New York, when she said black kids don't know how to use computers. It's like, what? Do you think we're cavemen or something? She literally said that out of her own mouth. And then, of course, tried to backtrack the next day when she got a bunch of backlash. But it's like, no, stand on it. You said it, so stand on it. Now, if that had been Trump, we'd still be hearing about that today. How many Democrats are talking about that now, though? Not a one. Crazy. Now, I want to play what Senator Thune had to say about this whole situation. And if you guys aren't familiar with Senator Thune, it is the guy that I'm always talking about and angry about because he is the Senate Majority Leader, Republican Senate Majority Leader out of South Dakota. So South Dakota, vote this mother lover out. Check out what he had to say.
Let's listen here.
Filibuster to try to outlast the Democratic minority under current rules. Do you have any expectation that you can succeed with that, given the enormous difficulty of doing that? In fact, the previous majority has not been able to.
Right. Well, I guess, and I would just remind people that the coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it, and we have a lot of things we have to do. There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill. You can go right down the list. Russia sanctions. There are a whole bunch of things that could be teed up for action on the floor of the Senate. And so you have to make some judgments, and the conference will have a conversation about that. I've committed to that we will talk about that idea and determine whether or not what the conference's views are about it and how they want to proceed. As I said, we will vote on the SAVE Act, but exercising or triggering a talking filibuster has ramifications, implications that I think everybody needs to be aware of. So we will have those discussions, but that's obviously ties the floor up for an indefinite amount of time with not only unlimited debate, but also unlimited amendments.
All right, rather we had the Senate Majority Leader and the Speaker of the House speaking at the same time.
Basically, what he's saying there is that Senate Republicans aren't going to get tough on the issue. Not going to end the filibuster. Not going to reenact the talking filibuster, right? Just going to keep it going as is. And that is why I continually say it's not enough for us just to have Uncle Trump in office. We got to show up in these midterms. We got to show up. Right? Win, lose, or draw, right, on the overall numbers. But people like Lindsey Graham, they've got to go. Got to go, right? He's got to be voted out. People like John Cornyn, got to be voted out. There has to be a clear message sent in these midterms, right, with these rhinos. There has to be a clear message sent. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting this type of weak, pathetic leadership. I don't even call that leadership. Right? I can't even call that leadership. That's just. And you know what's funny? John Thune is, of course, a Mitch McConnell protege. what do you know? Mitch McConnell. Goodness gracious. Thank goodness Mitch McConnell's out of there. But also, we got to make sure Mitch McConnell is replaced with somebody that is America first and not just another rhino. So that is massively important. So we have to show up in the midterms. It's not enough to just show up in the big elections, every 4 years. We got to show up in the midterms and even in the off-year elections, right? There were some elections over this past year or so that we should have been able to win, but we don't show up. If you don't show up, you can't win. Of course, Democrats are always going to show up. They're always trying to rile up their base emotionally with something else, And it's unfortunate because we could be so much better. So much better. I mean, we're already light years ahead of the Democrat Party, but we could be so far ahead if we didn't have rhinos like John Thune in office. Like, my goodness, man. My goodness. Weak and pathetic. Weak and pathetic. And then, of course, I want to play what Paulina Luna had to say. Somebody that is actually an America First Republican out of the House. Check it out.
Leader Schumer says SAVE Act will be dead on arrival in the Senate and warns of another GOP shutdown. So let's talk about the SAVE Act, because it's not just him. It's another old dude out there, one Mitch McConnell, who many say is also holding this thing up.
Yeah, so again, in the Senate right now, they have this thing called the filibuster, and the Republican senators will not vote to remove that, even though it's been one of the main things that have been responsible for holding back President Trump's agenda. But I think what's most important here is that right now, unless the tool of a standing filibuster is implemented, Thune actually does not have the votes to actually get voter ID through in a traditional fashion. And so that's why when you saw my opposition to the SAVE Act, I also understand that Chuck Schumer wants to shut down the government so that he can stop all ICE operations. Let me be clear. Yesterday, Chuck Schumer also said he wants mass amnesty for over 22 million illegals. In fact, they are looking to actively replace American voters with illegal voters. That is from his lips directly. Now, we know that there's overwhelming support from Black, Hispanic, white, Asian Americans for voter ID. Everyone is seeming to have common sense on this topic except for the Senate. And so that is why there have been talks among the senators to include Leader Thune on something called the standing filibuster that actually has to be initiated in the House via parliamentary procedure. And so we will be voting on something called the Save America Act. That's something that President Trump wants and has championed. The Save America Act will include voter ID, but a number of other things that will secure the home front. And so that'll be coming. I think we'll be talking about it here in the next few weeks.
Yeah. So shout out to Ana Paulina Luna. And I want to say it was Spain. I was trying to look it up a second ago. I want to say it was Spain that recently allowed, like, literally all of the illegals in their country to vote. How do you think that's going to play out? Yeah, the right isn't going to win in that country, like, basically ever again. Ever. And that is exactly what Chuck Schumer is attempting to do. I want to see if I can pull that back up. Because I came across the clip and I didn't save it. Let me see here.
We have a population.
Yeah, I think here it is.
Short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
There you have it. That's their plan, which we already knew from the beginning, But it's another thing when you actually hear them say it, when you hear them say it out loud, it hits a little differently than just speculating, So also on that issue, contrary to popular belief, and this is something that I'm always talking about, and I'm always trying to remind you all of, because I know it can be a little overwhelming when you're seeing all of these different clips, all of this different footage. Most of Americans support deporting illegals in America back to their country of origin. Here's a poll from Signal, okay? Net support. Democrats, of course, minus 42, but Republicans, almost 100% support. Independents, plus 23, and swing voters plus 37. So if you come down here, let me throw this bigger on your screen. Republicans supported at a 97% clip, right? Deporting illegals back to their country of origin. Independents, who are the voters that genuinely matter. 60% of those individuals agree with deporting illegals back to their country of origin, right? Swing voters, 64% of swing voters, people that go either way, support deporting illegals back to their country of origin. And of course, you got Democrats way down here at 25%. But overall, you got 61%. 61. So a majority of the country supports deporting illegals back to their country of origin. So regardless of whatever you're seeing, online or on your TV, just know that we are the majority. We are on the right side, right? We are on the popular side of this issue. We are on the winning side of this issue. Most Americans agree with us, 100%. And there was just another poll, just to prove it. So we'll see how this all plays out, man. I don't see it playing out very well for us. I don't think this whole SAVE Act thing is going to get passed, unfortunately, because of our weak leadership. And that's our fault. Once again, that is our own fault. The fact that we allowed somebody like Mitch McConnell to stay in the Senate for so long is crazy to me. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. I'm genuinely curious on what types of ads Mitch McConnell has been running over the years to continually convince people to vote for him. I'm genuinely curious. Like, this isn't me taking a shot at anybody that's voted for him, but I'm honestly curious. Or if just, you voted for him because you just weren't really paying attention or not really too involved. Because that's a lot of folks, right? We all have lives. We all have other things to do, other concerns. So I get it. If you're not really paying attention too much to politics, you just know, hey, Mitch McConnell's a Republican. I'm a Republican. I generally agree with Republicans. So yeah, I'm going to vote for Mitch McConnell. Sure. I'm sure that's probably more how it played out, but y'all let me know in the comments, man. What are these folks? What kind of ads are they running? What are they doing to continually convince folks to vote for them? What's John Thune doing? What has Mitch McConnell been doing? What's Lindsey Graham been doing? Right? What's John Cornyn been doing to convince folks to continually vote for them? Let me know. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.